Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Joining me is Savio Rodriguez as we question the Nobel Peace Prize Committee for giving a Nobel Peace Prize to somebody of the stature of Muhammad Yunus, because Yunus and Peace appear to be an oxymoron. Let's welcome Savio and get his input. Savio, you've written a letter to them. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you, Sri Iyer, for having me on your show once again, and it's always a pleasure. You know, having met a couple of the representatives of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee some years back, and because I have a good relationship with some of them, I was greatly disturbed over the recent incidents that are happening in Bangladesh, wherein Hindus, Christians, the minorities in general, were being targeted by Islamic radicals. Now, I have very clearly stated right at the onset of this conflict in Bangladesh, because to me it's a conflict. Uh, and that conflict is the establishment of Islamic nation in Bangladesh. And because of that, the Islamic radicals are going to target the minorities, in particular the Hindu minorities. And of course, after they go with the Hindus, they're going to go after the Christian minorities as well, and that has already started. Now, when Dr. Muhammad Yunus, who has been appointed as the caretaker of the government or the governance of Bangladesh, was given the Nobel Peace Prize, he was given it for the efforts that he put towards what the Nobel Peace Prize Committee at that point of time thought was equality, justice, peace, ability to take something unique that he had done and reach out to a large populace of Bangladesh. And that was way back in 2006. But today, when you look at what is happening in Bangladesh, we look at the ouster of Sheikh Hasina, which was primarily a political move, but the atrocities that have followed after that, where Hindus are being targeted, where Christians are being targeted, and the person who wins a Nobel Peace Prize is made in charge of the governance of that country, then it's incumbent on the Nobel Peace Committee to reassess the Nobel Peace Prize for what it stands for. Now, I grew up, okay, while right now many of us look at Nobel Peace Prize and other questionings of awards in a questionable manner, I grew up believing in the fact that the Nobel Peace Prize and the Nobel Prize stood for something of merit, something unique, something that was extraordinary. What Dr. Mahmoud Yunus is doing right now is not something extraordinary. He's doing something demonic, something diabolical. He's allowing for the Islamic radicals to go berserk. He's allowing for the Islamic radicals to target Hindus and Christians, particularly Hindus. He's using the Islamic radicals to establish his hegemony in Bangladesh. And Dr. Muhammad Yunus, as I said before on many channels, is nothing but a CIA puppet. He has been put in there by the CIA. And guess what? It is Barack Obama who's one of his closest friends, as we know from past history. And interestingly, Barack Obama himself is somebody who's got a Nobel Peace Prize. Now, the question to the Nobel Peace Committee is very simple. If today, I'm not taking away from what Muhammad Yunus stood for to win the Nobel Peace Prize. The question is today, in the principles that the Nobel Peace Prize Committee talk about, peace, equality, justice, human rights, where does that feature? Are not Nobel Peace Prize winners accountable for the principles that they have won that award for? And should we not question them? And should it not be reassessed when the person has not delivered or stood to the principles that the Nobel Peace Prize stands for? And that is precisely the reason I wrote to the deputy leader to question him and to ask him to reassess, because the Nobel Peace Prize stood for something. right now don't believe in it, but there are some who do. There was a value, there was something unique, there was something credible attached to it. Mahmoud Yunus right now does not exemplify what the Nobel Peace Prize stands for, and therefore it has to be reassessed.
Thank you so much. And this is not something that people have thought about, and I completely agree with you that Barack Obama should also be stripped of his Peace Prize. In fact, he was given the Peace Prize before he became president. One wonders what exactly had he accomplished by that time for him to deserve that Peace Prize. I mean, he was a first-term senator. Within that time, he's immediately running for president, and from a clever way of caucuses, the guy snatched the nomination from Hillary Clinton. Then there was an interesting thing there. Both were deep state candidates. One wonders which deep state won there, but whatever it is. So we had 8 years of Obama's presidency where he waged war like nobody else, and yet this is again another oxymoron, that Obama should have been given a peace prize. So these are all 5-letter words: Obama, Yunus, peace. So prize. So something wrong about this.
You see, Shri, what I get most upset about is, the world is seeing the atrocities happening in Bangladesh. Now, Hindus in Bangladesh, when Sheikh Hasina or even before, were leading a pretty secular life in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh is a secular country, or it likes to portray itself as a secular country. Muhammad Yunus's intent is to turn Bangladesh into an Islamic nation. And for him to turn Bangladesh into an Islamic nation, it needs to either ensure that the Hindus or the Christians or the other minorities numbers reduce, or they flee, or they go somewhere else. And that's how he becomes an Islamic majority. You are having Bangladesh turning into a Pakistan. The world knows what Pakistan has done to minorities in Pakistan, whether they were Hindu minorities, whether they were Christian minorities. And Bangladesh will be far worse than Pakistan. The Hindus are going to be targeted. The Hindus, more than the Christians, are going to be targeted. They're going to reach a stage where it's going to get difficult for them to have, to be considered to be citizens in Bangladesh. That is my fear, because the reports I'm hearing from the ground, contrary to what Muhammad Yunus and his people would like to tell the world, is not exactly that. So far, there are 88 cases that are supposedly registered, or the government of Bangladesh claims, but there are much more cases that may exist. People are afraid. The Hindus are afraid in Bangladesh. The Christians are afraid in Bangladesh, because the madness that allowed for Islamic radicalism to permeate in Bangladesh is what is driven this sadness that they have. But at the helm of affairs is a Nobel Peace Prize laureate. A Nobel Peace Laureate, and that's the joke on the entire thing.
So, Savio, an interesting aside here. Swarnalata Vemuri says that Yunus got a Nobel Prize for economics. Swarnalata ji, you know what? It makes him eminently qualified for disqualification. This guy allowed money laundering of $90 billion. I mean, if he got economics prize, is all the more reason for that to be withdrawn.
No, he did not.
Even bigger crime.
See, let me correct that. A lot of people are under the misconception that he won the award for economics. No, he won it for peace, not economics. He won the Nobel Peace Prize for basically ensuring that the Grameen Bank, which was his idea, which was his unique idea, was something that was able to bring equality, justice, and some some endeavor towards people who were marginalized in Bangladesh. Now, the irony of the situation is that somebody like Dr. Mahmoud Yunus, who's a caretaker government, who's heading the caretaker governance in Bangladesh at this point of time, a Nobel Peace Laureate, is actually allowing for Islamic radicalism to spread. But I have said it on numerous channels that Dr. Muhammad Yunus is a closeted Islamic radical.
Thank you so much. I'm just trying to see if there are any questions for you. Just 1 second. There are a few questions. Just give me 1 minute, so I'll be able to line them up. So while you are answering this first question, I can look for the other ones. Magnet Ranga wants to know, Namaskar, shouldn't the GOI be demanding this besides taking up the human rights issue internationally? I don't think government should be asking this because it's given to an individual by a private committee. Over to you.
I completely agree with you, Shri, on that. I think what is important is a lot of Indians, I'm just the first of them. I think many other Indians should start writing to the Nobel Peace Committee to ask them to reassess. I'm asking you to reassess the reason why he was given the award. And today, shouldn't those people, it's like saying that, at one point of time, X person got an award for Nobel for Peace, and then after a couple of years, that person turns out to be a butcher, which is what is happening in Bangladesh. Does he continue to remain to be a Nobel Peace Laureate? When nothing over the last 1 month after the situation in Bangladesh has gotten worse deserves that. The only thing that he knows is that he is backed by the deep state, the US deep state. Now, I would like to believe that the Nobel Peace Committee and the Nobel Peace Prize stands for something credible. If they don't reassess, they don't question him, then where is the credibility? I mean, think about kids who have been told, growing up that the Nobel Peace Prize stands for something of merit, something of credibility. That doesn't exist anymore if they continue to go with Dr. Mahmoud Yunus.
Very true. Very true. Let's take the next question. Ramchandran wants to know, why is Bangladesh opposed to India? What should be our long-term strategy? Hope we don't forget the atrocities, but give them a bloody lesson.
Bangladesh is not opposed to India because when I say they're not opposed to India, there was no opposition when Sheikh Hasina was around. I'm not saying you should get her back. That's for Bangladesh to decide. But the problem is Islamic radicalism. So let me explain this to you again. The CIA and the United States the US deep state primarily wants two Islamic nations and a Christian nation in the region to create aches for India. That is the strategy, which is the reason why Sheikh Hasina told her party 4 weeks before her ouster that a white man categorically told her that they plan to carve out Bangladesh, Myanmar, and parts of northeast India to create a Christian nation. The intent was to have two Islamic nations at the side, one Christian nation in between, and then you have a Hindu nation, which is what they see India as. And therefore, to keep cutting India with 1,000 cuts. Pakistan's intent has always been to cut India with 1,000 cuts. Bangladesh will also have the same. India's stand right now has to be diplomatic.
Well, many people are saying that it's not the United States that gives out the Nobel Peace Prize. Instead, it is a Scandinavian country. I thought it was Sweden. Somebody saying it is Norway. All these countries
No, it's
act like
Norway.
they all act like the cat's paw of the United States. I'm sorry to say this thing. Actually, Norway is a pretty rich nation these days. They've got oil coming out of every pore. And be that as it may, the concept is what we are questioning. It's not the award or the amount, it's the concept. Because if you separate the peace prize from Muhammad Yunus, he's yet another corrupt banker who laundered money.
Absolutely.
So
But that,
yeah,
I don't want to even get into that. That is the machinations that politicians do. I am saying the Nobel Peace Prize stood for something that I have believed in, something that many people in the world believed in. It was given to Dr. Muhammad Yunus at a point of time where they believed that he stood for something. Now,
Right.
after giving it to him, does he continue to hold those same principles? Is where the question is. So today, Muhammad Yunus is overlooking at atrocities and almost reaching a genocide against the minorities in Bangladesh. Shouldn't he not be questioned about it? Because he's carrying a tag of a Nobel Peace laureate. Shouldn't we question the Nobel Peace Committee to ask them to reassess? That's all that I've done. And I think I need to do that because let's understand one thing clear, that human life, whether it's in Bangladesh or in any other part of the world, must be protected. And today, if the Hindus and the Christians are targeted over there and Islamic radicalism is allowed to flourish in Bangladesh, it is going to create a problem for India. That is my concern.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree with you more. Viewers, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much, Savio. We've had you twice this week. The first one was a huge hit. It's already crossed, I think, 45,000 views. We hope that people get the message here. Some of you have said that, once given, it cannot be withdrawn. Wait a minute. Don't you remember Award Wapsi? How much noise was created? All because some people were overstaying their accommodations in Delhi. That was the only reason. That was the only freaking reason. Well, yes, especially one of them whose daughter happened to be an actress of the yesteryears. I mean, these are all hypocrites of the highest order. You wanted to say something? Go ahead.
See, my concern are the people who are being targeted because they belong to a particular religion in Bangladesh. Yep. That's my concern. Okay. And my worry is that today, if somebody who's a Nobel Peace laureate is allowed to continue with the atrocities happening, allowed to overlook rather the atrocities happening, then we are doing, the Nobel Peace Committee itself is doing a disservice for what it stands for. And therefore, they need to reassess it. Unless they want to tell the world it means nothing, then I'm okay with it. You can tell the world, like, listen, man, it's just a normal award. We do this politically, and we do it because we feel good. We give it to people. What they do after it, we don't really care. Say that. Because Muhammad Yunus is a classic case.
Viewers, we have Bhavishyavani with us. Savio is going to be famous very, very soon. How he will be famous, you will know. And after he becomes famous, not that he is not now, but this time fame not only is going to come, but fortune also will accompany that. So we'll have you back, Savio, soon on why you are going to become famous. Thank you once again. Namaskar.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.